name?
I'm an idiot. Had to start funny. Dana Strum. Meeting Ozzy was a freaky experience. He tried to come in he did come in the dressing room of the Starwood and broke up my band without asking me. I mean, that was like one of those funny moments, but I had a band that was extremely Black Sabbath derivative. A lot of the Hollywood bands were taking music from the Sweet and from other bands that had, various records out there. And for whatever reasons, I was very hell-bent on English Black Sabbath, the real Black Sabbath. And for me, the real Black Sabbath was early Ozzy. I was mesmerized. That music, I really idolized that music. Now go figure, that music, had it not really in the end been for that music, nobody in this whole genre probably would even be in it. But none of us would have known that. We all thought, what is that? You either hated Black Sabbath or you loved Black Sabbath. You either hated Led Zeppelin or you loved Led Zeppelin. I loved Black Sabbath. Someone had told him when he got fired from Black Sabbath, he was pretty down and out. He was extremely fucked up most of the time, and he was a character. And someone had said, "You gotta go see this. It's basically Black Sabbath, but here in Hollywood. You should go see it." That was where he had first seen me. That's where I had first met him. And it was pretty much him walking in and somebody had said, I'm going to bring Ozzy to see this. I said, probably love it. It's like Black Sabbath. And, it was very not really Hollywood, but because you could fill a room, you're the greatest thing in the world. In Hollywood, if you filled the room, we love you. If you're the greatest musicians in the world, can't fill the room, hey kid, come back when you're good. And so he came in, and he was in need. He was in need of doing what he wanted to do. The only thing was, of course, I don't think at the time he even knew what he wanted to do. He was out of a band. He was down and out in the sense that he was in this band, it was his band, and he was gone. He walks into the dressing room of the Starwood and pretty well tells, unbeknownst to me or anybody else, hey, listen, I'm going to do something with him, and you guys have to be on your way. And it was as though it was basically as though it was a setup, and it absolutely was. That was really the beginning of a very bizarre number of weeks. And you're young, someone that you love the music of comes in, you're like, I wonder what the possibilities of this would be. And there it all starts to lay its way out. So he writes on a piece of paper, listen, call me at this place, the Le Parc Hotel. It became the famous place that he wrote about many, many times. And for whatever reason, I kept the paper. I loved his music. Well, I'm not going to get a signature, but I'm sure going to get this. In the end, had it not been for that number, had it not been for the way that went on, there would have been no Randy Rhoads. There would have been no first Ozzy record. I never thought about money. Never thought about even asking, well, what is it that you think you're going to do? From there, I met him. I went to the hotel, and as I opened the door, I made my way through 50 Heineken bottles, pizza bottles, hard liquor bottles, into the floor of a room similar to this. So I waddled through the, but for me, again, don't forget, I love this music. So I was now seeing someone that to some extent, I really kind of idolized, the whole band. And beer bottles, pizza boxes, just shit everywhere. And the guy that I knew from this great band, or what I perceived was, in the corner, hey, Dana. I'm like, for what? Why don't I think this is the way it was really going to be when I heard these records, and now I'm here. And I said, there was odd conversation. You don't know anybody. And I said, so what do you play? You know, I mean, just what are you going to say? And he says, I'm not like auditioning. And I'm like, no, I mean, what do you play? Do you play the guitar? Do you play piano? Everything is in my head. I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, do it. He's like, hey, if you're funny, yeah, I'm not auditioning for you. And I said, no, I mean, do it. And he's like, he did though. He's like, I won't do it. I'm like, oh, you did write all that, didn't you? That is you, isn't it? He's like, yes. I'm like, no, I already heard it. He's like, I've got a list. And he had a list of guitar players. I'm like, can I see the list? Yeah. He had no way to get there. No plan. Just hands me a list. He says, we're going to go see these people? I said, well, I know a few of these people. Nope. I said, but I have the guy. He's like, no. The record company at the time that was owned by Don Arden, Sharon's at the time father and always would be her father, gave him a proposed list of people. One of the people on the list was a phenomenal guitar player I had never seen, but when I did, my jaw fell on the floor. Gary Moore. And I saw him at Frank Zappa's studio in Hollywood on Sunset, which was a famous place. A lot of musicians played in and out of there. And I said, man, that fucking guy is unbelievable, but totally wrong for you. I know this music. He's not right for you. But god damn, that fucking guy's good. And he's like, hey, mean? Hey, he's great. He's just not right for you. And he's like, hey, on to the next. And in my crappy teenage Hollywood car, I'm like, how wild is this that I'm driving someone I idolized around in Hollywood. You'd think he'd had a limo. And I'm driving him down Sunset to Laurel Canyon to see what would be guitar players. And at the time, we went up a canyon. We opened a garage, a hippie type garage in Coldwater, Laurel Canyon. Guys in there, I said, hey, my name's Dana, and I don't know you, but this is Ozzy Osbourne. He was a singer of Black Sabbath, and the guy was like a little edgy, you know, not like me, where I'm like, yeah, this guy's amazing. He's like, okay. I said, so, you know, he wants to hear what you do, and whatever you do, you have a particular plan, or you want to talk about what you want to do? Got it, big guy. And he starts singing Jimi Hendrix songs with a Strat on. And it was it was endearing and cute. You know, Ozzy kind of elbows me, and he's like, you know, Dana, tell him I'm the front man. Just play the guitar, don't sing. And it was that naive. And I'm like, hey, you know, time out. And he's all along the watch out. And I said, hey, he's the singer, so just go ahead and play. And I'm like, it's like mind-boggling. This is even really happening. And the whole time I'm like, look, this isn't right. It's a waste of time. I have the guy. He's like, we're gonna see a Jesus guy later, but we got to go down this list. And he started to kind of poke at me because I kept telling him, but I've got the guy. You know, we'll see the Messiah you've got, but you know, I need to go down this list. So I said, all right. So anyway, listen, just go ahead and play. You know, don't sing. And what does the guy do? Foxy lady, and I was just like, let's get the fuck out of here. This guy's crazy. He's nuts. And I'm thinking, you know, it's funny. I'm starting to learn that the guy that's telling me that guy's nuts is equivalently nuts. That was how I met him. And the entire time, I was just saying, look, we don't have to do all of this. I know who's going to do this. I never asked, you know, so like, who's paying the gas, you know, in the car for doing all of this? You know, I mean, thoughts ran through my head. There's got to be like somebody that's going to like say, hey, you know, you probably spent $25, you know, let me take care of that. But there was absolutely nobody. And I started to realize there really was no plan. And I remember at the hotel, so like, what's going to happen? Well, we're going to find people and we're going to go and we're going to like do something. And I started to realize, I don't think he knows. I really don't think he knows. And I remember leaving like, God, how weird is this? I'm like, I think I know how to do this. Fuck it, And there was a lot of resistance, and finally I made a deal. I'll take you to see this guy, this guy, this guy. If tonight, when we're done, I take you to studio and you'll see my guy. And he's like, after a lot of bickering and kind of bantering, okay, deal. We're gonna see you, Jesus, then. And a lot of needling about it. I can't wait to see this guy because I'll probably not like him and leave. And by the time we got, meanwhile, I was calling what was Randy Rhoads at his mother's music studio in Burbank, Musonia. Hey, listen, remember this whole thing I was telling you about? It's going to happen. It's going to happen tonight. So, is there going to be some gas money for me to and I'm like, are we serious now? Gas money? I was thinking it in the back of my mind, but I said, well, yeah, I'll figure something out. Just come down, but bring the shit that you use at the Starwood. If he doesn't get what I get when I see what I see from that balcony looking down while you're playing in really front of almost nobody, then I really thought I'm as wrong as could be and I'm fucked and whatever. But I have a feeling there's no one that isn't going to get what I get if you're put in the right circumstance. Clock advances. I walk Ozzy in the back door and he's annihilated. On the way to getting him to the studio, he leans over to me and tells me, I'll piss myself. And I said, I don't understand what you mean. I'm talking fucking English. I said, well, not English I understand, but what does that mean? And he says, I pissed myself. And I'm like, you fucking pissed in my car? He pissed in my car. I'm like, you pissed in my fucking car. It's the only car I have. And I'm like, that's fucked up. He's like, yeah, I told you I pissed myself. And I'm like, this is just fucking unbelievable. So I walk him in and he's like, lays on the couch, pretty jacked up. And he's like, listen, Dennis, just take me home. I'm like, no. Like, take me back. I said, no, you promised me you were going to see this guy. Yeah, we'll see the Messiah another time. Let's take me back. I'm like, no. Take me now. And I'm like, no. And I kind of walked out the door. I saw the little buzzer light. It's Randy in the back. So technically, this is a time that really changes a whole lot of this music forever. He shows up in a Volkswagen Scirocco, which was the Volkswagen Scirocco that lived in his mother's Burbank house with four flat tires and faded sun-bleached paint for years and years and years. And I'm like, hey, so where's, nice to see you, thanks for coming. Where's the shit from the Starwood that we talked about? Oh, I didn't bring that. I'm like, what the fuck did we talk about? What is happening today? So he says, no, I got something better. I'm like, I'm fucked. So he pulls out this little combo amp and some old MXR pedals. Wait till you hear this. It's huge. I'm like, okay. And I remember I felt very let down. And all right, well, let's walk down the hall. We'll put it on the chair. He goes, just put a mic in it and turn it up. Trust me, because I use it in the music room. I'm like, I sure hope so, man. He's like, so where am I going to go? I said, well, I normally have people play in here. He goes, I want to get feedback and stuff. I said, fuck it. Put some headphones on, you stay out there. Now, little did I know, that was probably going to be the reason that any of this, as you stop the clock, that's going to be the reason any of this works. Randy really didn't drink. He really wasn't a partier. Ozzy was annihilated. The fact that the lights were dim, they were never going to be able to actually see or meet each other. And in fact, they never did. They never met each other. So Randy tells me, by the way, I've never auditioned really for anybody before. Oh, Well, what did you do with Quiet Riot? Oh, we just played in the backyard and stuff. Oh, okay. Well, do the thing I love that you do at the Starwood. I always stick my head out of the drop. God almighty, that guy's good. Holy crap. How can't people just be lining up around the block? And I said, just do that. Oh, the penny solo? Whatever you call it. If he doesn't get when you do that, he's never going to get anything. Okay. All right. So I said, you good, right? And I remember I turned it up. And it did sound, it basically sounds like first Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, that was him in a box. That was what he did. I walk in the room, and I shook him, and there were peacock feathers on the wall. And he opens his eyes, he's like, Jesus Christ! He saw the peacock feathers. And I said, hey, we're ready. He's like, yeah, we're ready to take me back. I said, no. We're set up and we're ready. You know, you're going to hear me. He's like, I'm not here. He's just take me home. And I'm like, no, we talked about this. Remember I grabbed me? He's like, you're grabbing me. I said, you're going to come in. We're doing this. He's like, you have 5 minutes. And he says, hey, fucking take it. And it was the wildest thing. I'm like, fine. And he's like, hi, Dana. He's kind of barely able to walk. Let's hear Jesus now. Let's hear the man now. Let's hear the Messiah. This is the greatest guy on sliced bread. And he's carrying, just needling me. And I sit down and I was like, this is fucked. It's not really the amp I wanted. And this is, he's annihilated and he pissed in my car. I mean, it was just nothing really was going the way it stood. I hit the talkback. I said, all right, we're going to go in a second. He's like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, everything we just talked about. At least can't go worse. He's like, I said, the thing you do at the Starwood, we need to do it now. Little did he know, now I'm down to 4 minutes. And I was just so agitated. And so like, this is not the way this was supposed to be. It was a rotary knob and very large speakers. And I remember I was just so tweaked. I'm like, and I remember the knob was like, click. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like embarrassing to reach up and I'm going to turn that. This will wake the fucker up. Well, needless to say, I'm like, I'd play now. I'd do it now. And I was like, kind of like starting to laugh, like, this is just genius. And when the amp was so overdriven, he would open up the volume and you'd hear what you hear in the beginning of Crazy. And it jarred. I mean, I remember Ozzy like gyrated in the seat. And I'm like thinking in my mind, that got your fucking attention, didn't it? And I'm like, go kid, this is it. And he started, and I remember Ozzy went from the hair down to almost stammering. I'm like, well, you get it, don't you? Is this, either you're going to say what I think you're going to say, or you're going to say what I think you're going to say. And it's going to happen about fucking now. And he's like, and he says, tell that kid he's got a job. Mind you, they never met. And my plan now was, and they're never going to. He goes, you gonna take me home? So he never asked to meet him. So I'm like, well, didn't go on very long. Fuck it, let him play. I'm gonna walk out the back door and drive him. I did. He kept playing, going to town. I walked straight out the back door and put him in the car, took him to the hotel, made sure he got in the elevator, went back. He goes, oh, where were you? I said, well, I took him back. He goes, back where? I said, oh, the hotel. Oh, what happened? I said, he loved you. Oh, well, now what? I said, tomorrow at 2:30, you're going to meet me at Le Parc Hotel, and you're going to meet him. That's where they met at that time for the first time.
Look inside of me. Never gonna break, never gonna